So, this is completely going to be off the cuff. I don't script anything. Um, I just like it a little bit more authentic and raw, I guess. I don't know. So this is the Q&A that I said I was going to do. I'm doing it now. At the very last minute, a few people really pulled through and gave me their names. I mean, their questions. I've only been awake for a couple hours, so bear with me. So, yeah, I guess I'm just going to jump into it, right? Alrighty. My friend Emmett said, what are your thoughts on humanity's literal loss of survival skills? Most people wouldn't be able to survive even a week without modern technology. Are we shooting ourselves in the foot for leaning so heavily on science? Is human reliance and faith in modern tech and accessibility a sign of positive human evolution, or the exact opposite? So once again, I don't script anything, so I'm just going to answer these the best that I can in the moment and try to not sound like a total jackass. So we'll see how that goes, though. I took my vitamins. I should be okay. What are your thoughts on your survival skills? Well, right off the bat, I do think that survival skills are extremely important, and I don't think that enough people put enough stock in them or spend enough time considering what it is that they're capable of and whether or not they'd be able to rise to the occasion if something awful happens to society. It's not an unusual stretch to say, hey, it's possible for a solar flare to cause a geomagnetic storm that basically EMPs the planet. That's not like sci-fi. Like, that could happen. And in the world we live in right now, if you blink and the electricity is gone, I mean, there would be chaos, right? People on life support would die. People in critical condition would soon die. Probably, if you own fish like I do, we do, they would die eventually, right? No air filter. A lot of stuff would go down, and I think it is a problem that we lean so heavily on science. Not that science is a problem in and of itself, because it's not. I was just talking to my mom yesterday about how far we've come with like prosthetics and bioengineering, and people that lose their limbs can get one put on that like connects to their nervous system, and over time like it learns how to communicate with the brain so that you can actually get range of motion back in your hand like normally. And then a couple months ago I was reading something about a company that came up with like a pseudo skin that's filled with little tiny electrical whatevers that that could combine with such a device and like eventually give you back like the sensation of touch. That's fucking incredible, right? And I don't think that's a bad thing. That's amazing. But there definitely needs to be a balance of some sort between what it is that is very human that we must do to survive, and what are these cool, awesome, badass things that keep on rolling out that can augment and optimize our way of living. I think that we are eventually going to be pretty cybernetic in a lot of respects anyways. And by that I mean that we already have gotten ourselves so connected to our supercomputers in our pockets, like we don't go anywhere without them. We get panicked when we can't find it for whatever reason, and then some people, this isn't good enough, I need it on my wrist. or that's not good enough and the wrist isn't good enough. I want Google glasses so I can be Tony Stark and have a fucking heads-up display of the world, I guess. So it's not unusual to suggest that technology is going to continue advancing and continue integrating into our lives in all kinds of ways. Um, but I've also said this for a while. Our technology evolved so much faster than our squishy naked monkey brains did. So our understanding of what it is that we're doing, what it is that we're doing to ourselves, what we're doing to the rest of the world around us, is primitive compared to all the crazy things we have developed and that we can do. I mean, quantum computing, we learned how to break open a fucking atom and harness the power of the goddamn sun. There's just so much stuff, and we're definitely getting ahead of ourselves, but eventually that will probably come to a head of some sort. It might be a bad thing, it might be some sort of crisis or cataclysm. Hopefully not, right? But eventually there's going to be some sort of a wake-up call to like, whoa, we've let this get out of hand, and, you know, let's remember our roots and go back to what it is to be human, and then continue on with technology, but in like a responsible, healthy way. Blah, 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 blah. So to answer the question, I don't fall heavily on one side or the other. I do think that we are way too cushy and comfortable with the world that we've built for ourselves. I think that it could become a problem, but I also see that in the pursuit of expanding as a species, technology is inevitably going to play a role in whatever it is to come in the future, down the road, whatever humans look like 1,000 years from now, if we're even still around. Technology is going to have a heavy influence on what we look like and how we behave. So yes and no, I suppose. Thank you, Emmett. Fantastic question. My friend Jake asked, how are you so sexy? And I mean, what do you say? I was just kind of forged that way. Just thank my parents, I suppose. Because I'm not trying. I'm not trying. So thank you. He also asked, one gun in the world that you could have. See, I'm not a collector. I've got a committed rifle that can do the work, and I'm happy with it. Perhaps there are some tweaks I'd like to make to it, better optics, but I'm happy with the gun that I have. And my carry is just a Glock 19 Gen 3 or 4. I think it's Gen 4. Nothing fancy to it. It's just a Glock. It's got a flashlight. I'm happy with it. Does the work. It's a good. They're workhorse tools. I mean, if I could just snap my fingers and have any gun, man, my brain wants to say I want the gun out of an A10 Warthog, but I don't have the ability to move it around. So they built a gun that was so damn big. They're like, well, now what do we do? Well, we build a plane around the big ass gun so that we can actually do something with it. So it's a big ass gun. I think that it and all of its ammunition would take up all of the living room. So a minigun, I guess, right? You can't have an A10 Warthog's fucking Burt cannon, but a minigun would be cool, right? Just inside of a glass box, last ditch effort, break in case of emergency. Minigun. That's my final answer. Dream vehicle. I currently have a 2007 Jeep Wrangler 2-door, and I love it. I hate how expensive gas is, but I love driving it. I love the way it feels, like the way it handles. I like that I can, even with slightly larger tires than stock, U-turn on a fucking dime. It's cool. It's red. It's got nice innards. I suppose if I wanted to have the dream version of it, I've been wanting spacing lugs to give it that fucking like wide thick boy stance. I think I have 35s right now, so 37s would be cool. Some rocker steps. And maybe a lift kit, 2.5 inches. I don't know. I guess that's it. I'm happy with my vehicle. I'm a very simple creature, and I like my Jeep, and if anything, I would just like to mod my Jeep and make it look like a mean son of a bitch. However, I do think that the Tesla Model X is like an insanely dope vehicle. If for no other reason, this feature is amazing to me. It has like its own internal air filtration system, and in the event that the AI senses like toxins and pollution or like biohazardous agents or a goddamn volcano erupts or something completely ridiculous like that, but the computer can sense those things in the air intake, and it will seal the nooks and crannies of the vehicle and kick on that air filtration system, and it will sterilize and pump the air through that you're breathing. So, say you're driving through an area where a volcano just erupted, your tires might be fucked anyway, so you probably wouldn't get too far, but you could sit inside of this vehicle and just keep on breathing safely. I was listening to Elon Musk on Joe Rogan the other day, and he was like, you kick that thing on and wait about 10 minutes, and then you could perform a surgery in the back seat, and like it would be a sterile environment. I'm like, that is so fucking cool. And of course they're stupid fast. Crazy set the doors. It's just a badass vehicle. I've never even been in a Tesla, and I would love to, and yeah. I don't think I'm ever going to get one though, so it really is like a dream, I suppose. And do I have any regrets in life? I don't have any regrets whatsoever. And I love it when people ask me that question, because right now, the fact is, I am a result of every decision I've ever made. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever said, good, bad, or otherwise, right here, right now, is a culmination of all that. And I am happy and healthy, excited about the future, kinda, and I don't want to imagine an alternative version of right now. I'm good. So yeah, why would I regret anything if right now I'm solid, and right now is a culmination of all the choices I've ever made. So yeah, I don't really do regrets. I just I'm, I'm chilling. All right, those were Jake's questions. Now this is Harvey's. Love you, Harvey. If David bioengineered the xenomorphs, how could they have been on Earth for the events of AVP? Now, he actually asked me this question a week ago, and I really should have done something in the realm of homework so that I had any answer whatsoever, because I don't. And I haven't seen all the movies even. I think I've seen the first Alien, and I've seen AVP, and that's it. So, I don't know. I think I remember in a messaging board somewhere at some point in my life, a lot of people complaining and saying that AVP should be kind of stricken from canon as just like a one-off cool movie. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that never actually existed or happened. I really don't know. It's not a universe that I have any investment in. I'm sorry. But eventually, I'll let you and Ellis and Brady have an episode where we just sit down and I probably stare off into space and get drunk, and the three of you go on and on about this bullshit. So, I don't know. I don't know how they could have been on Earth for the events of AVP. Maybe time travel. They're already spacefaring creatures. There's a good chance that they time travel. Because, right, like you can make a whole brand new timeline in Star Trek by just adding a simple wormhole to a historical event, you know? That's all there is to it. So that's my answer. Time travel. Yep. Time travel. Loophole. Isabel asked, how has your workplace shaped you into who you are today? That's a good one. So, for anybody who doesn't know, right now I work in a detention facility. And when I started there, I started as an officer. And then something like a year ago, I resigned and became a civilian, just a different job. I'm still inside the building, but it's just a different type of work. And it definitely has had an influence on me. When I first started, I was thinking that I would work in the jail for a little while and then apply to be a deputy and do a full law enforcement career. I was inspired by my grandfather, who was a career deputy when he got out of Vietnam and spent some time as a detective. He never promoted past sergeant because he wanted to be like boots on the ground with his people, and I was like, that's badass. That's like, that's good stuff. And everyone I ever knew who ever worked for him or around him was like, picture of a leader. I was like, that's an aspiration. So that was my idea. And then within the first 8 or 9 months of working in the jail, I was like, wow, I don't think I actually want to be a cop for a career. And then about a year and a half in, I was like, and I don't even really want to be a detention officer for 20, 25 years either. Jesus Christ. There's a lot of issues with the penal system and the justice system. Pretty much everybody knows that. And some part of me just didn't like the idea of participating in that system actively and in uniform. And that's not to shit on cheapen or say anything bad about the people who I know that are good friends of mine that do the job both in the jail and on the road. I personally am not friends with anybody who has a badge, wears a uniform, and isn't a genuinely good person. Plain and simple. It just wasn't for me. It just rubbed me the wrong way, and at some point, I was also having some mental and physical health issues that were associated with the job. There's a lot of stress, right? When you're in a building surrounded by people that may or may not want you dead just because of what you do for a living, it can be stressful. And for years, I was fine with it. And then I don't know what changed, but something did. And out of nowhere, I wasn't sleeping right. I wasn't eating right. I just constantly couldn't stop worrying about what's going to happen at work tomorrow. Is someone going to punch me in the face? Is someone who's a friend of mine going to get socked or beat up? Is like someone who I trained, who I might have been responsible for at some point in time, going to be assaulted, and maybe I could have done something. Like all of this stupid you can't control it kind of shit would just plague my mind constantly. I was anxious, not healthy, not good. It started dipping into my home life in some scary ways, and I was like, you know what? I've just got to get out of here. I've got to do something else. I've got to pull myself away from what's causing all of this anxiety and panic and dread. And since I did that, I've been a happier person. I've been a healthier person. And I've had time for hobbies like this. So that's fantastic. Can't complain. So it's definitely changed me in that way. I was not, it was pretty unprecedented in my opinion. I wasn't anticipating my life and my personality and my principles and some of the different things that have shifted over the last few years to shift as dramatically as they have. But on the flip side, another thing that has changed is that I grew up really conservative. Pretty much everybody in my family has been military law enforcement to some degree or another, and everyone is just like, if you're in jail, you're a jackass, shouldn't have broke the law, cops are 99.999% excusable in everything that they do. Sort of a vibe. And I grew up with that, so I started working in a jail, and I kind of had this idea that, like, I'm in charge there, not it's us versus them. I was young. And the longer I worked there, the more I inevitably talked with some of the inmates and just kind of relaxed and took it back and kind of built this professional rapport back and forth. And the more I got to know these guys and the more they told me about themselves, the more I realized that you really don't have to be some sort of, like, fate-driven jackass to end up in jail. And just because you're wearing a jumpsuit on the other side of that door does not mean that you're a bad person. It means that you may have done something stupid. But I've done a lot of stupid things, and I just didn't get caught. So, at the end of the day, luck plays a big hand in which side of that building you're on. And, it's not a building full of evil people. It's a building full of broken people who need help. I don't think that punishment should be as important as rehabilitation, and I don't think that enough time, energy, and resources goes into rehabilitation. And just like educating kids, rehabilitation has to be a malleable thing that works for different people from different backgrounds with different types of traumas. And so obviously, if we're talking about, a government-funded facility, there's only so much they can do with whatever money they've got, and personalized rehabilitation for hundreds upon hundreds of people probably isn't inside of the realm of current possibilities, but it's the dream, I guess. So, in conclusion, my principles changed. My idea of what I wanted to do with myself and what I saw myself as in the future, that changed. My perspective of people that are inside of a jail at any given time, that changed. Um, and for better or for worse, my work has had an influence on the way I've chosen to live my life and spend my time. And like I said earlier, no regrets. I'm very healthy. I'm very happy. I'm zen as a motherfucker. And I wouldn't be who I am right now without having to go through all the things that I went through and experience the things that I experienced. So, yeah. Oh, I should have written down the entire question because I just wrote the word appearance. And I don't remember what the context was. I'm sorry. Am I your favorite DSS daughter? That's the job that both myself and this Isabel person have. And the answer to that question would be I don't have any other tower children. So, yes, by default. Would you get drunk with me? No, probably not. Because I just don't drink that much anyways anymore. And when I do, I am at home in the comfort and privacy of my room in my pajamas. When I go out, I'll have a couple beers. That's pretty much it. And I just can't drink anymore for fun, anyways. I have such a low tolerance since I've changed some of my dietary habits that, I mean, the last time that I was inebriated enough that I was like, alrighty, I need to get some water. I'd had an IPA and a those tall cans of beer, right? It's like it's not 40 ounces, but it's like the tall cans of beer. But the tall can of beer was just like a lager, and then the IPA was like a 6.5%. But I drank those two things in the span of an hour and a half, and I was like, oh wow, okay, I'm feeling it. So, and I used to be able to put down like six or eight beers, just no fucking problem. But that's when I was a carb machine and not healthy and overweight, and I wasn't sleeping right, blah blah blah. But anyways, yeah, no, not gonna get drunk with you. Not gonna get drunk with anybody except my wife, because I would be getting drunk at home. So there's that. Anna, my sister, asked, do you still practice your religion? I do. Born and raised Catholic. And I mean, I'm not the best at making it to church every single Sunday. Of course, I also work every other Sunday, so I can't. But, for instance, tomorrow, I'm actually going down to Phoenix so I can film that other episode that I mentioned in my stories. So I'm going to be traveling. I'm not going to make it to Mass. And yeah, that sucks. That's annoying. I like going to church. I like going to Mass. I like reading scripture. And I still believe in the value and sanctity and the sacraments and whatnot. But I'm a modern day jackass, and sometimes I fall short and I don't make it to church. But that's not to say that I think that practicing your religion means you like have to do the church thing all the time, right? Because practicing Christianity of any sort is functionally trying to live your life as much and as closely to like Jesus as you can. So I might not make it to church every time. It might be a couple months since I've gone to confession, but I do make a conscious effort to make the world a better place every single day than it was when I went to bed the day before. and I'm kind to people, and I show compassion. I try not to judge. I don't participate in gossip to the best of my fucking abilities. And I harbor no hate towards anybody. Yeah, I don't think. Okay, I might almost hate one person, but that's a conversation for another day. But I don't really hate anybody. I do have something like a cosmic love for pretty much everybody. Like I said, I'm zen as fuck. So in that way, in that I do actually try to reflect that love and that forgiveness and that compassion and that openness, I do practice my religion daily. I practice trying to be more like Christ. There you go. Angelica asked me what kind of gun, and she was referring to the video in my story where I was wearing my shoulder rig. That was my Glock 19 Gen 4, chambered in 9mm with a flashlight attached to the front of it. And that answers that question. Excuse me a moment. God damn. If you guys haven't had this, oh shit, you've really got to give it a try. A lot of different energy drinks have tried to get candy right, and they're good, and they do taste sweet, and you might go like, yeah, this is sort of candy-ish. This is some sort of reminiscent candy flavor. But I think that this Ghost brand has hit the damn nail on the head. This Warhead Sour Watermelon, and as you can tell, it is very effectively sour, but also banging watermelon flavor profile. Like, it's stupendous. This brand is pretty new, but I think they're gonna get up there with some of the top dogs this year, because they've come out with like four or five flavors recently, and they're all just kicking ass. Like that. Oh, god damn. I love it and I hate it. Alright, Varela. You asked me, well, first of all, you asked me like 3 or 4 different times to say something very, very explicit about my dick. I'm not going to, okay? I'm not going to give you that satisfaction. Or anybody else, alright? I'm a gentleman. I don't kiss and tell. But you did ask if I'm into foreplay, and that's just diet enough for me to answer quickly. Kinda. Sorta. Moving on. Vanessa, who was also asking, based off of my story video, is that a tortilla blanket in your backdrop? There was a tortilla blanket in my backdrop. The tortilla blanket was supposed to be a white elephant gift for a Christmas party in 2020. And then the week of Christmas, every single person in my house got COVID. So at the time, that was 6 adults. And we've always hosted the party in this house. Obviously out of the fucking question in that situation. So we weren't able to use any of the white elephant gifts, and everyone just kept whatever it is that they bought. And I was super excited about it because I like the tortilla blanket and I didn't want to have to give it to anybody. I would have fought tooth and nail to hold on to that tortilla blanket during the white elephant. So yeah, very happy. Normally I would use that for a backdrop, and sometimes I do in a pinch, but with the lighting setup that I have, a darker background is a little bit more conducive for keeping your eyes away from shadows and stuff like that, I guess. And I like this. It's nice and soft. It's a quilt that my Nana made for me as an early wedding gift. Very warm, very heavy. Okay, that's everything on this piece of paper. And then I've got some more here. Excuse my douche flute. Okay, so in my in my post, I was like getting desperate. Like, please give me questions. I need material. I don't want this to be like just 15 minutes, just like a blurb. Uh, and another friend of mine came through clutch as fuck this morning with like dozens of questions. So shout out to Holgate for coming in at the bottom of the ninth and asking me like 50 fucking things. First one, is that a tortilla background? Yes, already talked about the tortilla blanket. What brand shoes do you wear? Well, I have a pair of 511 boots from when I was an officer, and I keep those because they are waterproof, so they've got their functions. I wear them in heavy snow, and if I'm going somewhere where it's going to be watery, they're still good quality, like working boots, good tread, non-slip, all the rest of that horse shit. So I like them. They got the Gore-Tex lining, so I keep those. I do have a pair of all black Chuck Taylors that I'm very fond of, but I don't wear them very often. But they're nice. They're comfy. They're those newer ones that have like the thicker padded squishiness around the ankles. Really comfortable. I've got 2 pairs of Ariat cowboy boots, I guess. I wish there was a more technical term for a cowboy boot, right? Because I'm not a fucking cowboy. But I like those boots, you know? Both of them are essentially the same boot, but one of them is suede brown and the other one is just normal black, kind of shiny leather. I wear the black ones at work, and I wear the brown ones casually pretty much everywhere. Square toes. I can't do the round ones. They pinch my toes in too much. And then I have a pair of Merrell hiking boots. And I only got Merrells because I couldn't afford the Solomons at the time, but I love them. They're very comfortable. I've put a lot of miles into them. Can't recommend them enough. Anybody who doesn't have like a quality, almost $200 pair of hiking shoes or hiking boots, it's an investment that you won't regret. Don't go out there tearing up Nikes and cheap shoes. Like, you gotta go hard or go home, right? You get a good pair of shoes, it'll last you 10 fucking years. I'm a little bit of a grandpa when it comes to that kind of stuff. Let's see if I have any other shoes. I do have a pair of Under Armour, like, sneakers that I wear when I'm at the gym or something like that, or if I'm actually planning on running, which isn't often, unfortunately. I should run more often. What is the best condom brand that you would recommend? Well, I mean, you can't go wrong with Trojan. Kind of at the top of their game. And that's primarily what I've used. I mean, when you're young and you're an idiot, you're just looking for something cheap, you might grab one of those boxes of Durex or something, but, you know, those are poor people condoms. Sorry. It's true. They are. But, yeah, I guess. Trojan's fine. And see, one of the cool things that Trojan does is, just to give the company some clout, they use spermicidal lubricants on their products. Not all of them, but on some of them. And that's pretty innovative. It's a good idea, you know? I mean, that's the whole point of it anyways. Why not find ways to make it more effective? So, good for them. Tampons, pads, or the little cup? Now, being as I don't have a vagina, I don't have any personal experience with any of those things. But I suppose it depends on what you're doing, right? I mean, if you're on your period, but all of your friends are like, "Hey, we're gonna drink mimosas in a hot tub then tampon's probably going to come the most in handy for lounging around and doing nothing, low activity, than, pads. And if you're weird, then the cup, I guess. I don't know. Sorry, that's fucked up. I don't know. There's probably perfectly normal people that have chosen to use that thing. I guess I don't know where the cup comes in handy outside of the fact that it's reusable in comparison with absorbent apparatus. I don't know. But once again, it's not something I've put a whole lot of time and effort and energy into because I don't use any of them for anything. That's not true. When I was a little kid, I didn't know what tampons were for, but I got them wet and threw them at the window in my living room because when they smack onto the glass, they open up. And at the time, very small young child me thought they looked like butterflies. So that's also something that you can do with tampons. So that's another point for tampons, I suppose. Why doesn't McDonald's sell hot dogs? Hot dogs are already the single most cursed meat ever. And I think that if McDonald's got their hands on the hot dog, I don't even want to think about that. I don't want to think about the McWiener. That would be bad for humanity as a whole. 0 out of 10. No stars. Vote no on McWiener. No. We're not even gonna... No. No McDonald's hot dog. At a movie theater, which armrest is yours? Both. I'll take no more questions. Just kidding. I have a tendency to lean this way. So, I suppose the right is my default setting. But, I'm sitting in a nice big leather armchair right now. I like both. I like having my elbows perched and my hands together in front of me at my chest or in my lap or something. What is Satan's last name? Well, that's an interesting question. Because is Satan Lucifer? If so, then some of the apocryphy would suggest that his last name is Morningstar. But none of that is necessarily upheld by any religious orthodoxies. So he probably doesn't have a last name because God didn't create the angels with the same progressive evolutionary intentions that he created human beings with. So, as we understand angels or demons, there's no, family structure, which means whatever names they have are probably singular. Whatever their title is probably singular, and whatever the single word is probably a descriptor that is ancient. So yeah, in Hollywood, Lucifer is Lucifer Morningstar, but there's no religious documents or literature that upholds that. And if Lucifer is Lucifer and Satan is a different inhuman entity, then Satan probably doesn't have a last name. It's just Satan. If you didn't watch the last episode and you're watching this, or if you did, I might have mentioned I am an amateur demonologist on the side. So I read a whole lot of stuff about demons, about witchcraft, about spiritualism, about the hierarchies of different inhuman bodies. So that's actually that was kind of fun. I've got a lot of functionally useless information on what goes bump in the night. Alright, next one. Why do doctors leave the room when you change? They're going to see you naked anyway. Well, why do they hide behind a fucking lead-lined wall when they give you a fucking x-ray? Doctors are fucking sketchy, man. You can't trust those motherfuckers. I mean, obviously it just makes you feel better, right? Yeah. They're just polite, I guess. But there's something different about, like, getting undressed in front of somebody. Like, nobody watches you get undressed unless you have an intimate relationship with that person. But, like, when it comes to a doctor, like, they walk out, they come back in, they're ready to touch your balls, they know what they've signed up for, they're ready to get in there and take a look at what's going on, whatever the situation is. But, like, if they're just standing there in the corner watching you and you're, like, taking your fucking clothes off, that obviously feels different. That would obviously be different. Where does the toe tag go on a dead person if they don't have toes? I don't know. But if the person who died has a septum piercing, then it should go there. That's my answer. Why does grape flavor smell the way it does when actual grapes don't taste or smell anything like that? I don't know. It's the same as banana. Because you can only try so hard to recreate naturally occurring things artificially. Right? Like banana Laffy Taffy does not taste like bananas at all. No banana anything tastes like bananas. I think berries are the easiest to simulate in something that isn't actually a piece of fruit. I don't know. Maybe someday we will get to a point with ever progressing technology that we can masterfully reproduce fruit flavors. Hold out hope. What's the difference between normal ketchup and fancy ketchup? I've sat in many a greasy spoon diner and asked myself the same question. I wish I had a good answer for you, but I don't. Intention and how you present yourself. Right? So if you have normal ketchup, you're probably going to, like, do that thing with the bottle. I probably shouldn't have just been doing this on camera, but you grab the bottle and you just kind of try to muscle the ketchup out of the bottle if it's glass. And then if it's fancy ketchup, you obviously bring your elbows in and you take the lid off, and then you take the knife that you're not going to use on anything else on your meal and you scrape ketchup out of the glass jar. That might be the appropriate response to fancy ketchup, is that you keep your elbows in and you act like a pretentious bitch while you're removing the ketchup from the container. Why is the Lone Ranger called Lone if he always has his Indian friend Tonto with him? Because when the Lone Ranger was first written, nobody recognized Native Americans anyways. So maybe that was a little too dark. Racists. That's why he's called the Lone Ranger. Because racists. Is that Warner Brothers? I hope they don't come after me. Are eyebrows considered facial hair? Obviously. It's hair on your face. All the hair on your face is facial hair. Can crop circles be squares? I've seen them be squares, and I don't think they should be called crop circles. I do think they should just be called crop shapes. Or crop phenomena. Crop phenomena would be better. Yep. Do prison buses have emergency exits? Well, I've never been on one. I imagine that there are, like, actual regulations. Like they must have them somewhere, somehow. But they're probably key locked or chained up or something. I don't know. I have no idea. If anybody who's watching this has ever been inside of a prison bus for any reason at all, go ahead and mention it in the comments. I always forget to say things like that because I'm pretty new to YouTubing. Put it in the comments section down below. What do you like the most about yourself? That's a good one. I like that I am no longer a person who's firmly married to any of his opinions. So one of my favorite things about me is that I can sit down and consider, absorb, talk to anybody about anything. And I will generally never walk into a conversation with an air of, I'm right and you're wrong about myself. Even if I am right, there's so much more value in giving people the benefit of the doubt and giving them every opportunity to explain themselves, whatever the circumstances are, and listening to understand. And when you start listening to people to actually understand them, you realize that there's a lot of gray area in life. People are messy. The world is messy, nuanced. And you've got to be okay with changing your mind. Like, you can't get so set in your ways that if someone tells you you're wrong, it's a fight, right? That's not a way to live. It's certainly not a way to grow. And that's like my thing, is I want to try and continue growing, continue finding ways to be enlightened, not woke, but like better version of myself, more compassionate, more understanding, wiser. So I think that my favorite thing about me is that I've learned to listen, to understand, and that I can change my mind on a dime if I'm presented with new information that, changes the paradigm. I'm not even sure if I used the word paradigm properly just now. We'll see. I'm sure somebody will criticize me if I'm wrong. But you don't get a lot of opportunities to use the word paradigm either, so, gotta do what you gotta do. Oh, this is a great question. Especially for anybody who watches this that went to school with me. Most embarrassing time that you got turned on. Fellas, when you're in high school, even middle school, and your body starts changing, and things seem to be outside of your control. Sometimes you just get random boners and you can't do anything about it. Sometimes you fall asleep in class. And then your teacher yells at you and wakes you up abruptly. But you have got a raging stiffy. And because you were sleeping, she wants to call you up, tell you to come up to the front of the class and read something or answer a math question. And you have to refuse. You must refuse, right? Because no one's going to stand up and walk up in front of their entire class pitching a tent. So that happened to me, and I argued with the teacher back and forth about refusing to get up out of my chair. And she eventually told me to go to the principal's office. If I wasn't going to participate in the class, if I was going to fall asleep in the class, then I had to leave. So I gathered all my things and put them in my bag, and maintaining a 90-degree angle at the waist, I slowly waddled out of the classroom like some sort of fucking goblin. Some people might have thought I was just trying to be weird and funny. And some people might have understood that I was probably trying to hide a random, uncontrolled boner. You know, it just is what it is. Being young is terrible. It's just terrible. Okay. Have you ever wanted to try on women's clothes? Yes, I have. Especially those new TikTok leggings. Alright? I already got a fat ass, and I've always been curious if those things would just send me to the moon or not. I don't know. I might get some. We'll see. But, I mean, I've worn dresses and wigs and done makeup and all the rest of it. Not that I'm like, into cross-dressing or drag or anything like that, but I'm also comfortable enough with my sexuality that if for some reason I'm like, I wonder if that sweater dress would look good on me. And then I throw the sweater dress on and look at myself in the mirror and go, it'd look better if I had boobs, but, yeah. I turn sideways and go, yeah, Jacob, you got a fat ass. So, yeah. I don't really get curious about wanting to put on women's clothing. If I want to, then I just do. Because why the fuck not? What's your favorite body part? My favorite body part? Of mine? My forearms. I like my forearms. They've got good definition. They look good. Plus, I have a tattoo. My one and only tattoo is on my left forearm, so I like my forearms. What's the biggest lie that you tell everyone? That I'm having a good day. How's it going? Just living the dream. Another day in paradise. Happy as a clam. I don't really lie to anybody. I have nothing to hide. I don't tell lies. I don't have secrets. There are not skeletons in my closet. I'm an open book kind of a person. Anybody who's worked with me or gotten to become my friend knows that I will pretty much talk about anything. So I suppose, yeah, if I'm not in a good mood, but somebody asks me, how are you, right? Anybody asks you, hey, how's it going? Great. Living the dream. Old reliable. Living the dream. That's the biggest lie. What's your biggest sexual fear? 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 The movie Teeth. That's... yeah. It's a pretty awful one. Or, like, dormant STD that doesn't show itself, and then suddenly, out of nowhere, I'm just covered in bumps, and, like, my shit just itches all the time. That would be awful. Like an itch that you just can't scratch away. That's a nightmare. So, yeah. Itchy junk and vagina teeth. Yeah. Have you ever cheated on someone? No. Never. Not once. And I'm proud of it. I'm old school. In a lot of ways. What is your biggest fantasy? In general? That I wake up in a Star Trek universe type utopia, and that I could go work for Starfleet and be on a spaceship. It's probably my most frequent fantasy. That right next to never mind. The government collapsing. Revolution of some sort. That's on my mind a lot. When was the last time you tasted your boogers? Never. I was never the kid that ate them, ever. I was pretty bad about picking when I was a kid. As an adult, sometimes blowing your nose, it's crusted on. It's not good enough. You can't get it out. You got to go find a private place to go fucking get in there, and it is what it is. But no, never tasted. I mean, with you had the exception of you hawk a loogie or something like that, or you're trying to spit something up, and and then you might taste it, I guess. And if I had to pull anything from memory, then you're right. There's not really much of a flavor. Maybe it's a little bit salty, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, I was never a booger eater as a kid, so. When was the last time you peed in a pool? I think I've only done that one time ever. Honestly. I don't remember where I was. But I think I have done it once. I was very, under 10, very small, peed in a pool for some reason. I don't remember where I was, but yeah, I've done it one time. Is free will oh my god, there's so many. Is free will real or just an illusion? All of these questions that I've answered already, this is all Holgate. This is all the same person. Is free will real or just an illusion? So as a Catholic, I do believe in free will. I believe that, I make the choices that I make. I can conceptualize how this day would have gone if I just stayed in bed and I didn't wake up early and have some breakfast and clean myself up and do my hair and sit down and start recording this, right? So, but I chose to do that. So I think that free will does exist in that way. We do make split-second choices, and you get similar outcomes if you made different choices, but you choose what you choose, and that's how it is. Alternatively, almost everything that we do on a macro scale, like big decisions, important decisions, things that have something to do with our overall well-being, our survival, those things are somewhat impulsive. Some kind of an instinct, right, that just is right below the surface that dictates some of the things that we do. And in that way, there is some part of our monkey brain that just knows what it is that we have to do to stay alive, and we must do those things, otherwise we will perish. So some of it's in our hands, some of it's not. But then, of course, you could always just ignore those instincts and die for some reason, or develop some sort of an ailment by ignoring those impulses and those instincts. So there's still some choice in that. Now, to get even more ridiculous with that question, at some point in time, the universe was created, and gajillions of particles flew out everywhere with some trajectory. And they eventually created stars and clouds and plasmas and planets and systems, galaxies, all the rest of it, right? Now, I'm going to sound like an idiot because I don't know a lot about this, but I know a little bit about, like, quantum entanglement and, like, the idea that every particle has, like, a parallel friend somewhere else that's doing the exact same thing somewhere in the fucking universe. And that's crazy. The idea that these two things that aren't, like, sentient, as far as we know, have what appears to be a predetermined trajectory. And if something all the way down to photons traveling through the universe have a predetermined trajectory that is governed by its partner somewhere else, then it suggests that everything that's ever been created physically in the universe has some sort of predestined trajectory. And if that's the case, then everything, including the concept of free will, is predetermined. So yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm very happy to tell myself that I do have free will and control over my life. Is there a meaning to life? Like, I could answer that here and now. Meaning is subjective. And what every individual derives meaning from, completely subjective. My meaning of life is not going to be the next person's meaning of life. So, is there a meaning to life? Yes. What is it? That's for you to find out within yourself. That's a matter of personal introspection, soul searching. You will find your meaning of life, right? Where's the line between art and not art? I hate to be an old head about this, but I like classical disciplines. I like the idea of someone with discipline skillfully toiling over something that is a blood, sweat, and tears expression of some kind. I don't like a fucking banana peel inside of a fucking picture frame. I think that postmodernism and artistic relativists have kind of made art not artistic by trying to make it accessible to everybody. But the fact of the matter is that not everyone's an artist. Not everyone's good at art. And if you're bad at art, but you want to be an artist, then you need to be disciplined in different forms of expression and just drill and practice and get good. I mean, the best artists in history, for the most part, weren't putting out priceless masterpieces when they were in their 20s. It takes a while to come into who you are, figure out what it is that you love and care about, and if it's some kind of an art form, then you really have to fucking put your nose to the grindstone and get after it. But, like, people who, like, play loud music and smear paint all over their faces and then spin around in circles with tubes of acrylic screaming at the fucking sky. Like, that's not art. I don't think it is. I'm sorry. I just don't think it is. I think that it's lazy, I guess. But, I guess to each their own. You're asking me what I think is and isn't art. I believe that art is disciplined, and I like some of the classic disciplines of art. I am not a huge fan of abstract, relativistic art that could be literally anything. That's what gets annoying, is like, anything could be art if you just stare at it and try to change your own perspective. I think that's fucking stupid. I think it's lazy. I get into those ones sometimes. Okay. God damn. Ugh. That is sour. Why do we dream? Why do we dream? Far as I know, as of today, most scientists don't have a clear understanding of why we dream. Prevailing theories are that dreams are just like our brain kind of relaxing and releasing different stimuli from the days before that didn't really get consciously reconciled, and we're just trying to like work through random shit that we've absorbed or considered. But then it's also possible that there's something more profound and deep going on inside of our brains that we just don't understand. I don't know. So this is coming from a guy who has deja vu all the time, and if you don't believe in any of that kind of nonsense or clairvoyance, then that's fine. I don't care if you don't believe. If you think that I'm just a fucking kook, that's okay with me. But I have deja vus all the damn time, and they are extraordinarily specific, and they're extremely frequent. Like, conversations I'm having with people, scenarios at work, including unfortunate ones. I dreamt about my great-grandmother's death. Or I guess she wasn't my great-grandmother, she was my great-aunt. I dreamt about my great-aunt's death. The way she died, the way she looked when she died, the exact time that she died. I dreamt about it 2 days before it happened. Like, and it was like fresh in my mind when I woke up, and I was like, that was fucking weird. Why, ugh, jeez. And then 2 days later, my mom comes into my room, and she was like, hey, I just got off the phone with your uncle. She died. And I was like, what? Excuse me? How? And my mom told me exactly what my uncle told her. And, yeah. Yeah, oh no, I think she was my grandma. Yeah, she was my great-grandma. Not an aunt, great-grandma. Yeah, just on my stepfather's side. But, yeah, my mom told me everything that the uncle told her, and to a T, I dreamt about that event before it happened. So there's obviously something weird going on, right, in our noodles when we're sleeping. We're tapping into something. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's spiritual. I don't know if it's cosmic, if it's scientific, if it's measurable, but there's more to us when we're asleep. There's more to our minds. For sure. How long will you be remembered after you die? Well, that depends, I suppose, on how successful the podcast is. I don't know. I mean, in the digital age, it's kind of hard to just vanish into the ether when you die, right? There's a record of you all over the place now. So, if in 2021 we can go do 23andMe or whatever DNA thingies, and you can get this lineage. People are always going to be interested in those sorts of things. But in 200 years, it's going to be even easier to get your ancestors' logs and personalities and capture bits of their voices or videos, conversations. So, I mean, now that technology is the way that it is, as long as it doesn't get completely fucking nuked and technology doesn't just die, we don't have some sort of weird extinction event where there's a remnant of human beings left and technology is just gone to the wind, then everyone who's alive right now is going to be remembered for a long fucking time in one way or another. By name, I'd be surprised if great-grandchildren give a shit about Grandpa Jacob. But, yeah. Will religion ever become obsolete? I don't think so. I think that no matter what happens with... I mean, even if aliens present themselves to us, like I'm Catholic, and if there's extraterrestrials and we're not alone on Earth and there's something in conflict with the creation story in the Bible, then I'm gonna be okay with that. There's a lot of mathematical patterns in existence. There are a lot of observable and somewhat what's the word I'm looking for? Observable and blah 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 blah. There are patterns that you can anticipate that exist in nature, that exist in the universe, cosmically. There are just so many things that are similar in the way that they function, and it's hard for me to consider that all of that is somehow accidental or chaotic, or that it just is the way that things form because it's the most functional formation. I think that there's some kind of intelligent design behind everything. Or between us, between other sentient things outside of our planet, perhaps. And as long as that curiosity prevails, I think there will remain some people somewhere in the world or the worlds that do believe in God in some capacity. Our collective perspective of what God is might evolve as time goes on, but I don't think that God is going anywhere anytime soon. If you could teach everyone in the world one concept, what concept would have the biggest positive impact on humanity? Right off the cuff, my first impulse was to say that mind your own fucking business would have the biggest positive impact. Like, just mind your own fucking business. Just do you. Take care of yourself. But that doesn't really work, because human beings are creatures of communion and community. So eventually you're gonna bump into other people. So mind your own business is obviously a fantastic core tenet that anybody who isn't implementing it in their life should implement in their life. You'll be happier minding your own business, and people will appreciate you, just who you are, for minding your own fucking business. It's a beautiful thing. You have so much more peace just in your life if you just don't worry about anything except what you got going on. I don't know. Okay, boom. We have more in common than we have differences. globally, I really do think that we have more in common than we have in contrast. So if that's a concept that I could like snap my fingers and like tell everybody, your neighbor who has a Trump sign in the yard has more in common with you than you think, wants more of the same things than you think. Don't focus on what it is that you don't like about people. Focus on the things that you and other people have in common. There we go. What benefits does art provide to society? Does art hurt society in any way? Oh, going back to art. I'm trying to stay happy though. Art obviously has benefits to society. As far back as we can go, people were painting pictures on caves. And it continued. We want to tell stories. We want to express ourselves. We want to create a window into our own minds, our hearts, and our souls. And art does that. Whether it's something you can look at, or something that you're listening to, or even something that you can feel and experience. It's a good thing. And it has obviously had a huge impact and shaped our evolution, our cultures, and our societies. When do I think art could be bad? When it stops being important that art is specifically expressive, I guess. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. This bounces back to what I was saying about relativists and postmodernists that don't care about classical disciplines and think that anything can be art because anything can be anything because there is no fucking objective truth in the fucking universe. I hate that way of looking at anything. And I think that if you accept the postmodernist perspective on art, which is that anything can be art because there are no rules and nothing matters, and you allow that way of thinking to get into any other parts of your life, it's a problem. I think that it's bad. I don't think that's a good way to live. I don't think that's a good way to see the world. Excuse me, and the universe. So, yeah, I think that in that regard, art can be bad. But then, of course, I don't consider such things art. So, if it's not really art, then it's not art being problematic. It's retards being problematic. I'll probably get fucking canceled for using the retard word, but it is what it is. Yeah. So that's that. Don't ask me any more questions about art, please. Is intelligence or wisdom more useful? Wisdom. I know some very intelligent dumbasses. But being able to pull on life experiences of yourself and others, and being able to comprehend literature and storytelling and derive like a deeper functional, practical wisdom and knowledge from those things, I think is far more important than being well read or like, you know, at the top of your academic game. I think that's secondary to wisdom. What is the best way for a person to attain happiness? Once again, much like the meaning of life, happiness is a subjective thing. Happiness doesn't come from anything outside of you, right? That's you. You are happy or you are not. And this isn't to say that mental illnesses don't have an impact on these things. Obviously, sometimes you are literally biochemically fucked. It happens. But with some exceptions, happiness is a completely subjective struggle. And it starts with being content and being grateful and appreciative, I think. Because if you have very little, but you are alive and healthy, then you have more than most. And if you can be content with the fact that you are alive and healthy, despite what you wish you had and don't have, then you're on the road to achieving a very deep and profound happiness. So perhaps appreciation and gratefulness, conscientiousness, perhaps those three things, those three characteristics are the best way for to think, the best things to explore for a person to attain some sort of happiness from within. What do you contribute back to society? Well, as I said before, I'm trying to conduct myself in such a way every day that by the time I die, whenever that is, I left the world better than I came into it. I mean, with like material products, nothing really. But, you know, I'm trying to be a good guy. I'm trying to create something that perhaps can benefit other people. That's it. That's what I'm contributing to society. This podcast and my own good vibes for the rest of the world. By what standards do you judge yourself? I mean, pretty Judeo-Christian core values, I suppose. You know, you do something and you ask yourself, was that cash money? Was that what, you know, what would fucking Jesus do? I guess. Or the golden rule is a fantastic one. You know, treat others the way you want to be treated. Before I do something, it's like, well, let's turn the tables and see how I would want to be responded to. How I would want to be judged. You know. But I think I do a halfway decent job of conducting myself in a way that's not harmful and overall positive to the other people who I interact with. So, but yeah, my standard of judgment is Judeo-Christian moral values. What's the biggest waste of human potential? The biggest waste of human potential. Probably the education system as it exists today, especially in America. There's a lot of science that suggests that children are geniuses at a certain point in their life. Like, their brains are just so open to connecting dots that we don't normally connect as adults, and they're just so creative, and there's so much raw potential and so much capacity in that mind. And then we make them go to school for 8 hours, and the model of modern schooling is based off of assembly line factories and trying to prepare people for the Industrial Revolution that they were living in, right? So you walk in, basically punch the clock, stay in your spot, stay in your desk, stay in your lane, don't fucking speak or do anything else unless you raise your hand and have permission from your supervisor, right, or your teacher. Everyone's doing the exact same thing. It doesn't matter if you are personally, individually cultivated. What's important is that everybody meets a standard, and then they pump you out and try to get good numbers off of your grades, so that they continue getting federal grant money. And yeah, that's that's the measure of academia nowadays, and that is probably the biggest like net waste of human potential. Because if we had an education system that revolved around like the nurturing and the cultivation of skills, of passions, of creativity, then who knows what kind of geniuses we could be pumping out. And sure, this kid might be the next Da Vinci, but he might absolutely suck ass at math. So what? He's clearly not going to have a career in math. That's fine. There are ways to survive in the modern world without being good at math. But if he's got some sort of gift that's being wasted because of standards, government-based standards, by the way, that's an enormous waste. Or if you've got some kid who could, be the next breakthrough in theoretical physics, give quantum entanglement and string theory what they've been looking for like 30 fucking years without any success. Or some other theory of everything, but he never had any fucking time to explore those ideas, those maths, and those sciences because he needed to have this well-rounded understanding of fucking everything, even though he didn't care about literature, didn't care about art. He cared about science, but he wasn't allotted the opportunity to be the best scientist he could be. So, yeah. That's a huge waste. That's what I think the biggest waste is of human potential is our current public schooling system. Yeah. And TikTok. Yep. There's so much stuff you could be doing besides TikToking. What percentage of your life do you feel truly alive? For what percentage of your life do you feel truly alive? Not a lot. It's little tiny moments where I'm doing random shit or I'm doing absolutely nothing, and then, like, the profanity of my existence pops into my head for a brief moment, and I'm like, oh. This is just amazing. This is beautiful. How lucky. How miraculous. How wonderful that I'm just here in this moment in the universe doing the things that I'm doing. Wow. Wow. And then something distracts me and on we go with it. So, I mean, I'd have to say less than 2%. Less than 2% do I feel truly alive. Maybe slightly more, because you feel alive when you jump into cold water. I don't care who you are. There's that moment if it's hot outside and you jump into a cold pool of water and your heart goes and you feel alive when you jump into cold water. So, there's that too. Maybe slightly more than 2% then, I guess. But of course, I've lived in northern Arizona most of my life, and I don't really do a lot of swimming pool stuff or jumping into water in general, so it is what it is. Feeling alive. How do you define consciousness? Self-awareness? Well, I mean, okay, so like medically speaking, if something is conscious, it's like, awake and functional. So that's consciousness. Like if it's unconscious, it's clearly unconscious. And if it's, kicking, it's conscious. But if you're trying to get like deep on me here, I think that self-awareness is essential. Because like to just exist is one thing, to be technically awake and functioning is one thing, but to be aware of yourself and like your environment, that's a whole other thing. I think that's an important deviation. That's an important like line in the sand to be drawn. How would you define genius? I mean, the average person has a fairly average understanding of a lot of things. A genius in any particular topic is, you know, at the top of the game on whatever the topic is, or is, you know, pushing the fringes with ideas that nobody else has had, or is revolutionizing something somehow. So I suppose defining a genius is defining somebody working within a particular topic and carrying the torch in changing, revolutionizing, optimizing whatever the topic is, I guess. Why are humans so confident in beliefs that can't be proven? Well, a lot of things can't be proven to a certain extent. I mean, everything we know about the universe right now, our current best understanding of everything, what we consider to be fact, is the theory that everybody agreed on, right? Because it was a fact that the Earth was flattened at the center of the galaxy. And all of the scientists agreed that this was true. And they couldn't do a lot to prove it. They had very little material to observe the cosmos around them. But from what they could do, the best that they could do, that made the most sense. And everybody agreed at the highest level. So it was true. Until it wasn't anymore. Oh shit, suddenly people are discovering things that other people don't want being discovered, and the truth is being turned on its fucking head, and the fact changed. The truth changed. Because the truth at that time was misunderstood. So it had to evolve. Now we have a completely different understanding of our place in the universe. And as of right now, what we believe and what we can measure and what we can observe is what's true. But in 1,000 years, it might not be anymore. And if that's the case with science, then, like I said earlier, I'm completely okay with not being able to measure the existence of an omnipotent creator. That I don't lose sleep, considering that there is a God, that there are spirits, that there are things that we can't measure with the materials and tools that we have right now that have some influence on our world. So that would be why I'm confident in my beliefs that can't be proven. Because there's very, very little in the universe that can be proven. And what is proven today might be disproven in 100 years. And we have to be okay with that. Because we're only doing as well as we can with what we've got right now. What is the benefit of consciousness from an evolutionary standpoint? Well, look around. If consciousness has a heavy bearing on that self-awareness and that awareness of me, my future, my past, where I am right now, where I could be later, you know, that way of thinking, instead of just focusing on the immediate moment, needing to eat, needing to drink, needing to sleep, needing to fuck, you know, being able to perceive the future, having an influence on the evolution of consciousness in the first place has produced everything around us. So the benefit is everything that we enjoy and take advantage of in life. Everything. So I can't remember what I was listening to, but it was talking about how when humans' ancestors were much shorter and perhaps a little bit more apish, one of the biggest predators for us in certain parts of the world were snakes. That doesn't actually pertain to what I'm saying. But anyways, at some point in time, after being eaten by snakes, for whatever reason, one of the creatures thought about the snake they can't see. Right? So, once the snake comes up on you and you're fucked already, you can comprehend that the snake is right there and there's trouble. But at some point in time, someone considered the snake they can't see, the snake in the future, and what to do about the snake in the future. Because if you suddenly, for the first time ever, are pondering something that isn't happening immediately, the very next thought that would follow is, what do I do about that? Right? At first it's probably fear and anxiety, because there's no snake in front of you, but you're thinking about a snake. So what is little monkey you going to do about the snake? You can sit around and think about what to do about the snake, and then you might share the idea with the rest of the little monkeys. What do we do when a snake shows up? No, I know there's no snake right now, but what do we do when the snake shows up? Man, how about a pointed stick? How about a rock? Now we're using tools. Now we're hunting. Now we're killing. And the rest is history. So there we go. That was all of Holgate's stuff, which has been like 45, 50 minutes at least worth of material. Maybe more. And then my brother, John, dropped a couple things on me. So we'll do that. At some point in time, probably in April. In April, I'm going to go visit my brother in California, and we're going to do a podcast. So that will be fun. So here's an introduction to my brother. Is Return to Monkey a meme or a manifestation of true human desire? Both. I think that memes, if you really dig into them, are some kind of manifestation of human desire, or some sort of like expression that does have deeper meaning and does have like cultural consequences, which is why they've become so prolific. And when people look back on history, it's going to be really weird that all of a sudden these supposed to be funny pictures just exploded. There's obviously a reason that everybody tacks onto this stuff. But Return to Monkey specifically, I think, is a manifestation of human desire. A lot of people are... what's the word? They have lost the love and romanticization of modern technology, of the consequences of postmodernism, of AI becoming a potential threat sometime in the future, of the fact that we are all trapped in this cycle of working and eating and sleeping and working and eating and sleeping and working and eating and sleeping, and you don't get to quit until you're so old that the potential to do things physically has been diminished because you're dying. And that cycle is just an awful prison. But if you return to Monkey and you forego modernity and all of the things that we enjoy in civilization, then there may be some freedom in, getting naked and running through the woods and just shitting on the ground and eating things that you can hunt and catch. And obviously the Return to Monkey isn't necessarily for the people that actually may think that it is some sort of an expression or some sort of manifestation, like, stripping naked and running into the woods and shitting everywhere and just screeching and just forgoing your humanity completely. But simpler living, natural living, realizing that we're animals on this planet and that we have a relationship with the world that we live in, and that we shouldn't just be using and abusing and extracting everything for instantaneous accessibility and lavish enjoyment. And that kind of taps into the question that Emmett asked at the very beginning of this about, whether or not we're shooting ourselves in the foot with technology. If we're not careful and we let this become our whole identity as a species and something bad happens to it, we're all just gonna fucking die. We're all just gonna languish and fade away because we, frankly, chose to ignore the monkey that lives inside. There is monkey in everyone. There's a little bit of monkey in you. You are still monkey. And you can't forget it. So, yeah. I guess there's that. If you had to give up one of your 5 senses, which would you give up and why? Taste. Yep, I would absolutely give up taste. Because if I can still enjoy the rest of my life, and I can listen to music, and I can see beautiful things, and I can feel beautiful things, but I just can't taste food, like, I'll be okay with just, like, refueling. When I have to eat, it's just because I have to refuel, and then I can just keep on going and doing everything else. Yeah, it would take a while to adjust, and obviously I would, like, find myself missing, like, cheesecake and stuff like that, or like a good steak. I would miss such things. But it would be the easiest to move on from, for sure. Buried alive, burned to death, or drowned. You have to pick a way to die. Which of those would you pick? And why? Probably drowned. Between the 3 of them, drowning is going to kill you fastest. And if you know that you're not getting out of the water and that drowning is the, like, end outcome here, then you might as well just relax and let it happen. Like, if you know you're fucked, but you choose to continue holding your breath and panicking and, and then eventually you suck up water and that's how you go. Like, that would obviously suck, but it would kill you quickest. Burning to death would be excruciating, and I have caught my arm on fire and melted it down to second, almost third degree burns. So I have a particular perspective on being on fire. It hurts, and I don't think that it would kill you as quickly as drowning would. And then obviously being buried alive would just be fucking terrible, because, like, you're gonna lay there and it'll take days. Like, who would choose that one? It would take days. You would start getting hungry, you'd start cramping, you'd piss yourself, you'd shit yourself, you're buried alive, you can't move, you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything. You just lay down there, and eventually you run out of oxygen, and if there is enough oxygen because you're buried shallow or something, then you starve to death, go insane from exhaustion, have some sort of panic attack. Like, buried alive is definitely the fucking worst. Yeah, I'd have to say that drowned is the quickest, painless way to go, I think. I don't have any experience killing myself, so I don't know, but that makes the most sense to me. let's see here. I'll check some of my apps and make sure nobody asked any last minute questions. They didn't. And that's all of it, guys. Fuck. You know, I was concerned that it wasn't going to be a very long video because I was just going to be like, yes, no, straight answer. But there was some good material here that I was able to really drag out. And yeah. I mean, I did this because I wanted to give everybody a peek into who I am, what kind of a guy I am, how I think, how I see things, what and how the wheels are turning. Yeah, just to add some context for conversations I'm going to have in the future, the type of person that I am. And because I hadn't created something in a really long time, and I was just like getting sick of feeling lazy and feeling like, hey, like, you've got all the equipment, just fucking do the thing. You know you'll feel better after you do it. Just do it! And so, here we are. I hope everybody enjoyed this, and more than likely, somewhere down the road, I'll do another Q&A. I mean, I answered a lot of fucking questions here, but we'll see. You know, and over time, people change, and your answers might change. You might want to revisit something. But of course, traditionally, a Q&A will only have so many questions that are sort of sorted through a little bit more, so that you don't run out of good questions, I guess. But there are plenty of questions that weren't asked, plenty of little tiny things. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff to go. So if you have other questions, put them in the comments, and I'll start accumulating a new list for the next time I do a Q&A somewhere down the road. No idea where or when that'll be. I hope I'll be pretty busy making other videos and actually doing like interview podcasts and conversations with other people. Like I said already, I'm driving down to the valley to do one tomorrow. The valley being the greater Phoenix area. I live in Arizona. I live up in northern Arizona, and the person I'm talking to lives down in southern Arizona. So yeah. So I don't think I've got anything else for you guys. Go give these a try. They're really good. Really tasty. And once again, I would like to thank... Oh, God, they're so sour. Oh, I love it. My friend Emmett, my friend Jake, Harvey, Isabel, my sister Anna, Angelica, Varela, Vanessa, Holgate, and my brother John for giving me the material I needed to produce this. I was not expecting that we were going to be pushing 2 hours on this, so hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something, and or perhaps are in a position to go face life and your experience in living in a different way. You know, maybe open your mind, open your heart up a little bit. Maybe, who knows? So, yeah. Thanks for tuning in. If you liked it, like button thing, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe. Share the video. And tune in for the next video. I'll see you guys in the next thing.